I came home earlier than usual that night. No calls, no texts, just an impulse. Maybe it was the way the air felt different, thick and charged like the city before a summer storm. Or maybe it was something deeper, a whisper of instinct that had been buried beneath months of denial. I parked the car, stepped out, and immediately noticed something off. Claire's car was in the driveway, but the house was dark. No TV humming, no music playing, just silence. She always kept the lights on, even when she was alone. Said it made the place feel less empty. I walked up to the door, turning the handle slowly. Unlocked. The moment I stepped inside, I knew. A jacket, not mine, draped over the arm of the couch. Sleeves still bunched like someone had just slipped it off. A pair of shoes, men's sneakers, scuffed and unfamiliar, tossed carelessly near the stairs. The air smelled different too. Not her usual vanilla candles. Something muskier, sweat and cologne. Every cell in my body screamed at me to stop, to turn around, get back in the car, and leave before I saw something I couldn't unsee. But I moved forward, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Voices, low, muffled, coming from upstairs. I took the stairs 2 at a time, every step making the floor creak beneath me. If they heard me, they didn't care. Or maybe they thought I wouldn't do anything. Maybe they thought I was too blind, too trusting, too stupid to catch on. The bedroom door was cracked open. Pushed it. The world tilted. There she was, Claire, sitting on the edge of the bed, wrapped in nothing but a sheet, her hair a mess, her breathing uneven. And across from her, standing shirtless near the window, was a man I had never seen before in my life. They both turned at the same time. For a split second, no one moved. Then Claire, without so much as an ounce of shame, rolled her eyes. "Jesus, Michael," she sighed, pulling the sheet tighter around her. "You scared the hell out of me." Scared her? The man, whoever he was, just stood there. He didn't scramble for his clothes. Didn't stammer out an excuse. He just folded his arms over his chest, watching me like I was the one who had barged into his house. My hands curled into fists. I turned back to Claire, waiting. For a confession. For an apology. For anything that might make me believe this wasn't what it so obviously was. She tilted her head, annoyed. "Are you just gonna stand there?" I couldn't speak. My throat had locked up, rage and heartbreak twisting together into something raw and unbearable. Claire sighed again, like she was explaining something to a child. "Look, before you freak out, let's just be adults about this, okay? You said you were open to it." I blinked. "What?" She gestured lazily at the man beside her. "A threesome, remember? You agreed. I just got started without you." The words hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. This was her excuse? This was how she was going to spin it? "That's not," my voice broke, the weight of betrayal pressing down on my ribs. "That's not what I agreed to." "Well, I thought you'd be into it." She shrugged. Guess I was wrong. I looked at the man again, expecting him to at least look uncomfortable. But he just smirked. Like this was all some joke. Like I was the joke. Something inside me snapped. "Get out," I said, voice low, dangerous. Claire rolled her eyes again. "Oh, come on again. Out." The man had the audacity to chuckle. "Dude, relax." I took a step forward and suddenly he wasn't so smug. He grabbed his shirt off the chair, muttering something under his breath as he pushed past me. Claire didn't move. I turned to her, my entire body shaking. "You think this is funny?" She stretched her legs out, tilting her head. "I think you're overreacting." Overreacting. The room spun. The floor beneath me felt unsteady, like I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't come back from. "How long?" My voice barely sounded like mine. She sighed dramatically. "Oh my God, Michael, how long?" Finally, a flicker of something annoyance? Guilt crossed her face. She picked at the edge of the sheet, avoiding my eyes. "A couple of months," she said. Then, before I could even process that gut punch, she added, "But honestly, it's not a big deal." "You're making it a big deal." Something inside me shattered. And I knew, right then and there, nothing would ever be the same again. I stood there, barely breathing, as the weight of her words crushed down on me. A couple of months. Like she had just admitted to forgetting to take out the trash. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. Claire finally sighed, swinging her legs off the bed and standing up, completely unfazed by the destruction she had just unleashed. She wrapped the sheet around herself like it was some grand inconvenience that she even had to bother covering up. "You're being really dramatic, Michael." I let out a breath, sharp, uneven. "Dramatic?" The word tasted foreign in my mouth. "Yeah. I mean," she made a face, rubbing the bridge of her nose like I was the problem here. "It's just fun. It's not like I don't love you." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "You love me?" She scoffed. "Obviously. You love me, but you've been screwing some guy for months? And then you bring him into our bed while I'm at work?" She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck in the back of her head. "You're making it sound so much worse than it is." I could barely comprehend what I was hearing. My heart pounded against my ribs, my pulse a wild, chaotic mess. Everything I thought I knew about this woman, about my wife, was unraveling before my eyes. And she didn't even care. She wasn't crying. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't begging me to understand. She was annoyed. I took a step back, my brain racing to catch up with reality. "So what? You just get bored one day and decide to cheat?" Claire let out a breathy little laugh like I was the dumbest man alive. "God, you sound like some old-fashioned loser." She smirked, running a hand through her hair. "It's not cheating if it's just messing around." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "What the hell are you talking about?" She huffed, crossing her arms. "Monogamy is a social construct, Michael. Did you know that? There are entire societies where I cut her off. So you're gonna sit there and pretend we didn't take wedding vows? That we didn't promise to be faithful?" She shrugged. "People grow. People change. I changed. You didn't." The sheer audacity of it left me momentarily speechless. She didn't even have the decency to lie properly. To fake some guilt? To at least pretend like she hadn't just ripped my world apart? No. She was standing there looking at me like I was an obstacle. Like I was in her way. And suddenly everything clicked. This wasn't some one-time slip-up. This wasn't guilt eating her alive until she confessed. No, Claire wasn't caught. She was done hiding. The thought sent a fresh wave of sickness rolling through me. She never planned to stop. She never wanted to stop. She just wanted me to be okay with it. I felt something inside me snap. A tether, a connection, whatever had bound me to this woman for so many years broke. "I want you out." My voice came out too calm, too steady for the storm raging inside me. Claire snorted. "Excuse me? You heard me." She just stared at me for a second like I had suddenly started speaking in tongues. Then she barked out a laugh. "Michael, I live here." "Not anymore." She tilted her head, assessing me, and I saw something flicker behind her eyes, something dark, something calculating. Then she smiled. Smiled. "Oh, sweetie." She stepped closer, reaching out as if to touch my face, but I jerked back before she could. Her lips twitched. "You think you get to just kick me out? Like that?" "Yes." She sighed, exasperated, like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. "Be realistic, babe. Where am I gonna go?" "Not my problem." Claire's jaw tightened for the first time that night, and I realized that she wasn't as confident as she was pretending to be. "Good." She lifted her chin, voice colder now. "You're not actually serious." "Dead serious." A long, tense silence stretched between us. Then she laughed. A slow, mocking laugh that sent ice down my spine. "You don't have the guts, Michael." I stared at her. She didn't believe me. She really thought I was too weak, too spineless, too in love with the idea of us to actually go through with it. That was her fatal mistake. Claire stood there, arms crossed, waiting for me to back down. To crumble. To do what I'd always done, let things go, smooth things over, pretend like nothing was wrong. Not this time. I turned on my heel and walked out of the bedroom. "Michael," she called after me, her tone shifting, still condescending, but with a thin layer of uncertainty beneath it. "Where do you think you're going?" I didn't answer. I stomped down the stairs, my hands shaking, my pulse pounding so loud it drowned out her footsteps as she followed me. "Michael." I grabbed my phone off the kitchen counter. My vision tunneled as I scrolled through my contacts, my thumb hovering over the one name I knew would set off a nuclear bomb in Claire's world. Her sister. "Oh, you're being ridiculous right now." Claire scoffed, stepping around the counter to get in my face. "You're gonna call Lauren? For what? To tattle on me?" She laughed. but there was something forced about it now. I locked eyes with her. If you don't start packing your stuff, I will call everyone. Your sister, your parents, your boss. Her nostrils flared, like they'd even care. I smiled. Let's find out. Her face changed. The bravado cracked, just a little, but enough for me to see the panic she was trying to hide. Because she knew. Her sister would be disgusted. Her mother, who still thought we were some picture-perfect couple, would be humiliated. And her boss? The guy who ran that pristine little marketing firm where Claire loved to act like the golden girl? He'd take one look at the mess she made and start questioning everything about her. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing her image. She lunged for my phone. Give me that. I yanked it away, stepping back. Start packing. Her eyes burned into mine, her chest rising and falling fast. I could see the calculations happening in her head, the little gears grinding as she tried to figure out her next move. Then, in a flash, she switched tactics. She softened her stance, tilted her head just enough, lowered her voice. Michael, baby, she purred, reaching out. Can we just talk about this? I almost laughed. The audacity of this woman. You don't get to baby me, I said, my voice like steel. Not after this. She sighed dramatically, leaning against the counter. You were so dramatic. I said nothing. She huffed. Fine. You want to play hardball? Let's talk about the house. My stomach dropped, but I didn't let it show. She smirked. Yeah. Now you're thinking. She crossed her arms. You want me out? Then buy me out. Otherwise, I'm not going anywhere. I exhaled slowly, clenching my jaw so hard it hurt. She wasn't wrong. The house was in both our names. If she wanted to make this ugly, she could. And she would. I'll call a lawyer, I said, gripping my phone. She smirked. Go ahead. And while we're at it, let's talk about the furniture. The accounts. Right, your precious car? Half mine. I knew what she was doing. She was trying to bait me. Trying to make me snap, say something stupid, give her leverage. I refused to give her the satisfaction. So I smiled. Take it, I said. Take the car. Take the damn furniture. You want to drag this through court? Fine. But until then, you're leaving tonight. Claire's smirk twitched. She wasn't expecting that. She thought she had me cornered. You're serious? As a heart attack. For the first time since this nightmare started, she looked unsure. She flicked her gaze to the front door, then back at me, calculating her next move. And then, just as quickly, her expression changed again. She grinned. A slow, dangerous grin. All right, Michael, she said, stepping closer. I'll leave. Something about the way she said it sent a chill up my spine. But she continued, trailing her fingers along the counter. I promise you, you're gonna regret this. I met her gaze, refusing to look away. Get out. She let out a breathy laugh and turned toward the stairs. Don't worry. I'll go. She looked over her shoulder, her smirk widening. But I'm not going alone. I felt the shift in the air before she even said it. That smirk, that smug little glint in her eye, I knew she had something planned. And yet, nothing could have prepared me for what came next. She took one step up the stairs, then turned, her voice dripping with amusement. You think you can just kick me out like some side chick you're done with? She clicked her tongue. Michael, I'm your wife. And you know what that means? I clenched my jaw. It means you broke every promise you ever made. She laughed, shaking her head like I was some clueless idiot. No, sweetheart. It means you don't just get to throw me out of my own house. She flicked her wrist toward the front door. But if you want someone gone so bad. Her lips curled into a wicked little smile. Then you go. For a moment, the room spun. I stared at her, words failing me. What? You heard me. She leaned against the banister, stretching like a cat, unbothered. You want space? You want me gone? She raised an eyebrow. Then leave. I let out a humorless breath, shaking my head. This is a joke, right? Nope. She popped the P. Like this was some casual conversation over. You want to act all high and mighty, but you're not kicking me out. That's not how this works. I gritted my teeth, forcing my voice to stay level. I pay for this house, Claire. She pouted mockingly. So do I. Remember? Joint mortgage? You signed, I signed. 50-50. Baby. Rage boiled in my veins. You really think you can stand here and act like you have the moral high ground? She grinned. Who said anything about morals? I exhaled slowly, trying to keep my hands from shaking. So that's your big play? Squat here and make my life hell? Something like that, she said with a shrug. Then casually, so casually it made me sick. She added, oh, and by the way, I already texted him. The room dropped 10 degrees. My stomach turned. Who? She blinked innocently. Oh, come on. Don't be dense. I took a step forward, my voice dangerously low. You brought him into my house, and now you think he's coming back? Her smirk widened. You better believe it. I felt my hands curl into fists, my nails digging into my palms. I had never hit a woman in my life, and I wasn't about to start now, but God, I needed to hit something. She watched me, amused, waiting for me to snap. I refused to give her that satisfaction. Instead, I turned around and grabbed my keys off the counter. Where you going? She asked, her voice laced with mock concern. I didn't answer. Running away already? She called as I walked toward the door. Wow, Michael. So predictable. I kept walking. You should call me when you grow a spine. She yelled as I slammed the door behind me. I barely made it to my car before I punched the steering wheel. My breathing was ragged, my vision blurred at the edges. I had walked away, but not because she won. No, this wasn't over. Not even close. I sat in my car, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles ached, breathing like I'd just run a marathon. My mind was a tornado of rage, disbelief, and something sharper, something colder. This wasn't just cheating. This wasn't just betrayal. Claire was playing a game, and she thought she'd already won. I stared at the house, my house, as the reality settled into my bones. She wasn't going to leave. She was going to dig her claws in, make my life miserable, parade that bastard around like some kind of sick trophy. And if I reacted, if I let my anger take over, she'd use it against me. I needed a plan. I needed to be smarter than her. I forced myself to breathe, forced my hands to relax. Then, without giving myself time to second-guess, I grabbed my phone and called the one person who would understand exactly what I was dealing with. Lauren, Claire's sister. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Michael? Her voice was groggy, laced with confusion. I checked the time. Midnight. Didn't care. Lauren, I said, my voice tight, controlled. I need to talk to you. There was a pause. Then, instantly more alert, what happened? I didn't even hesitate. Claire cheated. And now she's refusing to leave the house. A sharp intake of breath. Then silence. A long, dangerous silence. Then, that selfish, she cut herself off, and I could practically hear her grinding her teeth. I'm coming over. I blinked. Wait, what? I said I'm coming over. Don't move. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there, staring at my phone, completely thrown. Lauren and Claire weren't exactly close. Claire had always called her sister a judgmental control freak, and Lauren had always called Claire a spoiled narcissist. But I never thought she'd actually take my side in something like this. 15 minutes later, a car pulled into my driveway. Lauren stepped out wearing sweats and an oversized hoodie, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked furious. She stomped up to my car and knocked on the window. I rolled it down. Where is she? She demanded. I nodded toward the house. Up there, waiting for her new boyfriend to show up. Lauren's jaw locked. Oh, hell no. Before I could stop her, she was storming toward the front door. Lauren, too late. She flung the door open and stepped inside like a wrecking ball. Claire's voice drifted from upstairs, light and amused. Michael, did you finally? Then she saw her sister. Her face dropped. Lauren? Lauren crossed her arms, voice like ice. Explain. Claire blinked, then scoffed. Oh my God. Did he seriously call you? That is so pathetic. Did you cheat on him? Claire's lips parted, but no words came out. For the first time, she actually looked rattled. Lauren, answer the question, Claire. A pause. Then, with a roll of her eyes, ugh. Fine. Yes. But it's not. Lauren laughed. A cold, sharp, humorless laugh. Wow. You are actually unbelievable. Claire crossed her arms. Oh, get off your high horse. This has nothing to do with you. Lauren took a step forward. Nothing to do with me? You're my sister, and you're acting like a disgusting, selfish, entitled brat. Oh, like you're so perfect? Claire shot back. Please. We all know you've been waiting for Michael to hate me. Michael doesn't hate you, Claire. But you deserve it. That landed. Claire's eyes flickered. Wow. Thanks for the support, sis. Support? Lauren laughed again. Support was all you ever wanted. Huh? You never wanted accountability. You never wanted to actually be a decent person. Claire's jaw tightened. Whatever. I don't need a lecture from, no, what you need is a reality check. Lauren turned to me. Michael, pack a bag. You're staying with me. I blinked. What? You heard me. Her eyes snapped back to Claire. He's not going anywhere near you. Not after what you pulled. Claire's face twisted. Oh, so now you're his bodyguard? Lauren shrugged. Someone has to be. Because you're toxic as hell, Claire. And for the first time in your life, you don't get to win. Silence. Claire's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. And for the first time, I saw it, doubt. A crack in her armor. Lauren turned to me. Let's go. And just like that, for the first time all night, I had a way out. I didn't move right away. I stood there, watching Claire, waiting for the fight, the screaming, the crocodile tears, the dramatic victim act she always pulled when things didn't go her way. But it didn't come. Not this time. No. For the first time, she looked cornered. Her eyes darted between me and Lauren, her fingers gripping the banister so tight her knuckles turned white. She wasn't used to this. She wasn't used to being ganged up on. She wasn't used to losing. You're actually leaving? She asked, her voice quiet but laced with something sharp. I exhaled through my nose, shoving my phone into my pocket. Yes. Her lip curled. So that's it? You just run off to my sister's house and let her tell you what to do? Lauren snorted. Oh, please, Claire. He's making his own decisions for once and you can't stand it. Claire whipped her head toward her. Stay out of this. Lauren took a step forward, unfazed. Make me. The tension in the air was thick, ready to snap at any second. I turned away, refusing to waste another second on this disaster. I'll grab a bag. Claire scoffed, crossing her arms. Go ahead. Take whatever you want, Michael. Just know that when you walk out that door, I'm not waiting for you to come back. I paused. Then I looked at her. Really looked at her. The fake confidence. The forced smirk. The way she kept shifting her weight like she wasn't as sure of herself as she wanted to be. And it hit me. She was bluffing. She thought I'd leave for the night, cool off, and come crawling back. That's how this was supposed to go in her mind. I'd storm out, slam a few doors, maybe ignore her calls for a couple of days, but in the end, I'd return like I always did because that's what I was supposed to do. She wasn't scared of me leaving. She was scared of me never coming back. I smiled. A slow, steady smile that made her shift uncomfortably. Good, I said. Then we both know where we stand. I didn't wait for a response. I went upstairs, grabbed a duffel bag, and stuffed it with enough clothes for a week. Wallet, charger, a few essentials. I didn't need much. I just needed out. When I came back down, Claire was standing by the window, arms crossed, staring at the driveway like she was recalculating everything. Lauren stood by the door, waiting. I walked right past Claire without a word. Michael, she said, voice lower now, no longer amused. I stopped. She turned, facing me fully. Her expression was different now, no smirk, no mockery. Just something else. Something unreadable. You really think you're done with me? I met her eyes. I know I am. Something flickered in her gaze. Then slowly that cruel little smirk returned. We'll see, she whispered. I didn't respond. I just walked out the door. And for the first time in years I felt free. The drive to Lauren's was silent. She didn't push me to talk, didn't ask stupid questions like are you okay? Because we both knew the answer. I wasn't okay. I was a mess of rage, betrayal, and something worse. Clarity. Because now, away from Claire, away from her games, everything was clearer than ever. She never loved me. Not really. She loved control. She loved the security of being with someone who would always bend. Someone who would always be the reasonable one, the understanding one, the one who didn't throw plates when things got ugly. She loved having power. And tonight, I took that power away. Lauren pulled into her driveway and shut off the engine. We sat there for a second, the weight of the night settling between us. She exhaled through her nose. You're handling this better than I expected. I let out a bitter laugh, staring out the windshield. Am I? She turned toward me, arms crossed. I thought you'd be in pieces. I mean, Claire? She's a nightmare, I finished for her. Lauren smirked. That's one way to put it. I rubbed a hand down my face, exhaustion sinking in. How long have you known? That she was cheating? I nodded. She sighed, tapping her fingers against the steering wheel. I didn't know for sure, but I had a feeling. How? Because she's Claire. Lauren shrugged. And Claire has always been this way. She just got better at hiding it. I swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell me? Because you wouldn't have believed me. I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. Because she was right. A year ago? 2 years ago? If Lauren had sat me down and told me Claire was capable of this, I would have laughed. I would have defended her. I would have thought Lauren was just being bitter, just holding on to old childhood grudges. I would have done exactly what Claire had counted on me doing. Lauren must have seen the realization hit because she shook her head, her voice softer now. Don't beat yourself up. She's good at this. Too good. I let out a breath, leaning my head back against the seat. She thinks I'll come back. Lauren snorted. Of course, she does. You were her perfect husband. Loyal, patient, dependable. She thinks this is just another fight. That you'll cool off, miss her, and forgive her. Asterisk, the words tasted like acid. Exactly. I turned my head to look at her. But she's wrong. Lauren studied me for a second, then smiled. Damn right she is. We got out of the car, heading inside. Lauren's house was smaller than mine, cozier. She had a dog, an old golden retriever that wagged its tail lazily as we walked in. It felt different. Warmer. Guest room's down the hall, she said, kicking off her shoes. Make yourself at home. Thanks, Lauren. She waved a hand. Don't thank me yet. I have a feeling this isn't over. I frowned. What do you mean? She hesitated, then sighed. Claire's not the type to let things go, Michael. She's gonna do something. I don't know what, but just be ready. I swallowed. Because deep down, I knew she was right. Claire wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I barely slept that night. Not because I missed Claire, God, no, but because my mind wouldn't stop racing. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her standing there in the doorway, smirking like she still had the upper hand. Like she had already won. And I knew that she wasn't done playing her game. The question was, what was her next move? By the time the sun started creeping through the blinds, I had my answer. My phone started buzzing nonstop. At first, I ignored it, thinking it was Claire trying to worm her way back in with fake apologies or manipulative threats. But then I checked the caller ID. My boss. My stomach twisted. I swiped to answer. Hey, Dan, Michael. His tone was sharp, clipped. We need to talk. Now. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. What's going on? I got an email last night. About you. A cold chill ran down my spine. An email? A complaint, actually. I gritted my teeth. From who? Dan hesitated. It was anonymous. But it claims you've been creating a hostile work environment. Specifically toward female employees. My blood turned to ice. Excuse me? It says you've made inappropriate comments. That you've been overly aggressive. That some of the women feel unsafe around you. I nearly dropped the phone. Claire. This was Claire. She knew she couldn't break me emotionally, so she went after my livelihood. My reputation. I forced myself to stay calm. Dan, you know me. You know this is, I do. But HR takes these things seriously. And with everything happening in the industry right now, I can't just ignore it. I gritted my teeth. What does this mean? It means you're on temporary leave until we sort this out. The words hit like a hammer. Leave. Unpaid leave. Just like that, Claire had managed to throw my entire life into chaos. I didn't even remember hanging up. I just sat there, staring at the phone, pulse pounding in my ears. Lauren walked in, holding a mug of coffee. You look like you've seen a ghost. I let out a shaky breath. She went after my job. Lauren froze. What? I told her everything. By the time I finished, she looked like she was ready to murder someone. That she struggled for words, face twisted with rage, that manipulative, lying piece of garbage. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to think. What do I do? You fight, Lauren said immediately. You don't let her win. How? I gestured helplessly. She's smart, Lauren. She didn't use her name. She didn't leave a trail. It's my word against a faceless accusation. Lauren paced the room, thinking fast. Okay. First, you tell HR you want an investigation. Demand proof. If there's no evidence, they have nothing. I nodded, my mind finally catching up. And second? Lauren's eyes flashed. We hit back. I frowned. What do you mean? She smirked. Claire thinks she's the only one who can play dirty? Let's remind her she's not the smartest person in the room. For the first time all night, I felt something other than rage or despair. I felt hope. Claire wanted a war? She was about to get one. Lauren wasn't kidding. Within an hour, she was on her laptop, typing like a woman possessed. Okay, she said, eyes locked on the screen. Claire is smart, but she's also arrogant. She thinks she can play dirty without leaving a mess. But everyone leaves a mess, Michael. We just have to find hers. I paced behind her, still reeling from the morning's disaster. And what exactly are we looking for? Anything that proves she's full of crap. Lauren sipped her coffee, not even looking at me. Social media, work history, old emails, text messages. Oh, and speaking of texts, have you checked yours? I frowned. What do you mean? She finally glanced up. Claire's been messing around for months, right? That means she's been texting someone for months. And if she's half as careless as I think she is. I pulled out my phone so fast I almost dropped it. Claire had deleted most of her messages. Of course she had. But I wasn't looking for the obvious. I scrolled through our old conversations, searching for anything, any breadcrumbs she might have left behind. And then I found it. A single message from 2 weeks ago. A number I didn't recognize. Tell him whatever you want. Just don't get caught. My stomach flipped. Lauren. She leaned over my shoulder. Holy. SHT, my pulse skyrocketed. It's him. The guy. The affair. And if I had his number. Lauren grinned. Then we have leverage. I exhaled sharply. Can you find out who it is? She cracked her knuckles. Watch me. 15 minutes later, she smacked the laptop with a triumphant grin. Got him. I leaned over, my breath catching in my throat. His name. His job. His LinkedIn. And then the final bombshell, Michael. Lauren's voice was barely above a whisper. He works with Claire. The air in the room shifted. Everything snapped into focus. Claire hadn't just cheated, she'd been screwing a coworker. The same coworker who, if I had to guess, probably helped her file that anonymous complaint against me. It wasn't just personal anymore. This was professional sabotage. I clenched my jaw. What happens if we tell her boss? Lauren's eyes gleamed. Oh, she gets fired. No question. My pulse thundered. Then let's do it. Lauren hesitated. Are you sure? Because once we go down this road, there's no going back. This isn't just getting her out of the house. This is ruining her. I stared at the screen, my vision sharp, my heart cold. Claire tried to destroy me. She thought I'd roll over. She thought I'd take it. She thought I was weak. She started this, I said, voice steady. I'm just ending it. Lauren nodded. Then let's burn this BTCH to the ground. Lauren didn't waste time. Within the hour, she had typed up an email so airtight it might as well have been a legal document. Names. Dates. Screenshots. Proof that Claire had been involved with a coworker, her subordinate, for months. Proof that she had used office resources to cover her tracks. Proof that she had fabricated lies about me to protect herself if I ever found out. And the best part? The email wasn't coming from me. It was coming from Lauren. HR won't ignore this, she said, fingers hovering over the send button. Office romances are one thing. But screwing someone you manage while also filing false harassment claims against your own husband. They'll want her gone before this turns into a lawsuit. I exhaled slowly. Send it. She clicked. It was done. Now we waited. Claire called me later that evening. I almost didn't pick up. But something told me this was the moment. The final scene in a movie where the villain realizes she's lost. I put her on speaker. Lauren sat across from me, watching, arms crossed. Michael, Claire's voice was tight. Controlled. We need to talk. I leaned back. About what? A pause. Then, what did you do? I smiled. What do you mean? She hissed through her teeth. Don't play dumb. I just got called into an HR meeting for tomorrow morning. Someone sent them an email, oh? About you sleeping with your coworker? I said, tilting my head. Huh. That's weird. Lauren snorted. Claire's breathing sharpened. You think this is funny? I think it's called karma, *silence. For the first time, Claire had nothing to say. No excuses. No gaslighting. No condescending little smirk. Just dead air. Then, in the softest, most dangerous voice I had ever heard her use, she whispered, "You're going to regret this." Lauren leaned forward, grinning. "Oh honey, you're the only one with regrets right now." Claire hung up. Lauren burst out laughing. God, that felt good. I exhaled, running a hand through my hair. "She's done, isn't she?" Lauren nodded. "Yeah, she's done." And for the first time in years, I felt it. No rage. No heartbreak. No knots in my stomach. Just peace.